Greetings everyone! This is the third episode of my Gold Silver Crystal competitive guide, and starting now, I'm going to go into the tiers and show you the main threats that you will encounter if you play them. Along with that, I will also show you the most common sets used for each of those Pokémon. This way you don't play without knowing what to expect. Remember, these are the most common sets, meaning that you may see some variation against certain opponents. So to start this, I'm going to address the OU tier. I'm probably going to use 2 episodes for this, since it's the main tier and some Pokemon need to be analyzed with caution. And I don't want to make this video extra long. It's not good for me, it's not good for you. Let's start with a threat list, and the first one is none other than Snorlax, the king of Gold Silver Crystal OU. The meta is heavily shaped by him, so every team needs to be able to deal with Snorlax. At least 1 or 2 checks/counters are required for a good OU team. It's not hard to see why this guy is such a huge threat. He has an enormous amount of HP, coupled with a good special defense, which makes him very bulky on the special side. Plus he can set up or even just cover a lot of things, which makes him very annoying to deal with. Now the common checks or counters for him include Skarmory, Steelix, Rhydon, Miltank or Umbreon if Umbreon has Charm, Misdreavus, Gengar, and Machamp. There can be more or less checks or counters, because depending on their Snorlax set, some of these stop being checks, or some of those become actual counters. So you need to scout the Snorlax set before you safely go to those Pokemon. Now, let's address the common Snorlax sets you will encounter in this tier. The most common one is undoubtedly Curslax, which is self-explanatory. Well, it has Curse, Body Slam, Double Edge or Return as his stab move, and then 2 additional moves. Those 2 moves are usually either Earthquake plus Rest, Fire Blast plus Rest, Lovely Kiss plus Rest, Rest plus Sleep Talk, or even Self-Destruct plus a coverage move. The best way to deal with Curslax is to phase him out. You cannot just attack him straight away, because if he starts setting up curses, not only has he already a good special defense, but he starts getting good physical defense too. So the best way is to passively deal with him, aka phase him out. Racking up damages consistently before you force him out is also good, because that makes him more scared to switch in the next time. Poison and spikes help with that, because if his HP starts gradually to go down, he will be more scared to switch into stronger attacks, since spikes and poison damage take place before you eat up the attack. Also, forcing him to rest helps a lot too, since it allows you to phase him out, or you can actually set up your own sweeper. The next set is the Drumlax set. It has usual Belly Drum, of course, that's what defines the set, then Body Slam or Return as stab moves. Double Edge is not recommended here because you're already taking up 50% of your HP with the drum, and recoil will just make the sweeping process more difficult. Then you have EQ, Lovely Kiss or Fire Blast, depending on your preferences and team structure. And lastly, Rest, which allows you to, if the first attempt to sweep fails, you can just rest and then try again later. In general, the best way to check Drumlax is prevent it to set up. Snorlax is so slow that it needs to eat up either 1 or 2 attacks before sacrificing 50% of his HP for the drum. So don't let Lax switch in for free, or even get the right predictions to force a favorable matchup, and thus forcing him out before he can drum. If you manage to set up the drum, explosions can force him out, or even take him down if he doesn't see it coming or for some reason wants to stay in. Normal resisting Pokemon like Skarmory or Steelix can take a +6 stab, but also take a huge hit and probably need to sack something before you bring them in, so you can actually phase them out. Skarmory in particular can take a +6 return, actually can take 2 +6 returns, so keep that in mind. And last on the list is Mixlax, which it's a set that sacrifices any setup options for more coverage. Usually runs Body Slam or Double Edge. Return is not seen here because Body Slam has the paralysis chance and Double Edge has the raw power. Return is an in-between option and doesn't fit well with this set. Then you have EQ and Fire Blast for good coverage, and for the last move usually runs Self-Destruct, which you go boom and take something down with you. It's a really strong attack, 200 base power plus stab. Something, even though those will resist normal moves except ghosts, will take a huge chunk of damage with it. All of his checks and counters need to be played carefully because a well-timed self-destruct can take him out. Machamp, for example, fears this set less because it doesn't need to rely on cross-chop for critting to bypass the curse boosts compared to Curslax, you know. This Lax doesn't set up, and since it doesn't have rest, chip damage and, for example, poison and other status are really your best friends here. Of course, spikes always helps. Just be aware when he's going to boom and react properly with that. Moving on to the next threats, we have the legendary Electrics, Zapdos and Raikou. Their amazing stats and typing makes them formidable Pokémon, either as tanks or as offensive beasts. First, we're gonna analyze Zapdos. Zapdos is known for his amazing special attack, good speed, and above average bulk. He also has an amazing typing in Electric Flying, which the flying type makes him immune to the ground attacks, which are usually the main counters to electric Pokemon. Now, on the checks and counters list, we have Snorlax, Blissey, Steelix, Rhydon, Marowak, although Rhydon and Marowak need to watch out for a super effective hidden power on the switch. Tyranitar is also a good check, but he doesn't like to eat thunders on the switch. And then we have also Raikou, Jolteon, and Quagsire. The most common set used by Zapdos is the Rest Talk set, which includes either Thunder or Thunderbolt, Hidden Power Ice, Rest, and Sleep Talk. Sometimes Hidden Power Water is used over Hidden Power Ice, but the Ice one is the most seen hidden power of choice. Now, Zapdos functions both as an offensive behemoth and also as a tank. He is really scary if spikes are up. Because of his amazing typing, even ground types are not guaranteed counters. However, he has some glaring weakness that can be exploited, and once he is asleep, he needs to rely on Sleep Talk, which has some randomness involved. But Zapdos patches so many holes in the team and is a great pivot mon, so many people use him. Now it's Raikou's turn. Raikou has very good speed and special attack, good special defense but lower physical defense. So common checks and counters include Snorlax, Blissey, Steelix, Rhydon, Marowak, and Quagsire. Careful with ground types, they need to be aware of a super effective hidden power on the switch, but once they are in, Raikou usually switches out, because he doesn't want to take a stab EQ. Now, onto the common sets. First of all, we have the Rest Talk set, which uses either Thunder or Thunderbolt, either Hidden Power Ice or Hidden Power Water, or even Crunch, and then of course Rest and Sleep Talk. This one functions as a tank, as most special attackers that don't set up are walled by this, even mixed attackers that don't have EQ, like Nidoking. If you don't want a coverage hidden power, Crunch is also useful to get special defense drops, which can win Rest Talk wars or can even force more switches. Then we have the Phaser set, which usually has Thunderbolt, either Hidden Power Ice or Reflect, and then you have Rest and Roar. This one is really scary with spikes up. Raikou already forces switches naturally, so well-timed roars can really mess up teams. However, this one is not recommended as a primary Snorlax check due to Raikou's low defense and weakness to ground. Reflect can help with this, however. Let's move on to Cloyster. Now, his primary role is as a spikes user. Boosting a good defense, Cloyster is a great counter against ground types and can even hold off Snorlax for a couple of turns. His most common checks and counters are Raikou, Zapdos, Jolteon, Exeggutor, Tentacruel, and basically any strong special attack, because he lacks in the special defense department. On the sets, we have a more offensive Spiker, which has Spikes, Surf, Explosion, and then either Toxic, Ice Beam, or Clamp as the last move. Spikes and Surf are self-explanatory. Explosion makes Cloyster a big threat, because you never know when he's gonna boom. It helps to take down either opposing sweepers, or opposing walls that are annoying. For the last slot, Toxic is good to wear down some Pokemon that like to switch into Cloyster, like Starmie, even Snorlax. Ice Beam is nice for Zapdos and Exeggutor switch-ins, and Clamp traps an opponent and allows you to explode safely without fearing a switch into a Pokemon that can take that explosion. Onto a more defensive Spiker, it has Spikes, Rapid Spin, Surf, and usually Toxic. Spikes, since Rapid Spin and Explosion cannot go on the same set because of move incompatibilities, move illegalities, this set sacrifices some offensive power for more utility. Toxic is usually the last move of choice, because it prevents an opposing sweeper from just setting up on you recklessly. Forretress is the other big Spikes user in OU. The Steel Bug typing is great defensively and has only one weakness. Forretress has less offensive presence than Cloyster, but it has a thing or two that can justify his use over the previous one, if needed. As for checks and counters, any fire move will do the trick, but also Cloyster, Tentacruel, Gengar, Misdreavus, Skarmory, Steelix, and Rhydon make good checks, counters to him. His most common set is Spikes, Rapid Spin, then HP Bug or HP Ghost, and then either Explosion or even Toxic. Unlike Cloyster, Forretress can have both Explosion and Explosion and Rapid Spin on the same set, which is great. And HP Bug gets Stab and can nail Starmie and Exeggutor really hard, but HP Ghost can be awesome against the ghost types that like to switch in to Forretress, thinking they have a free switch or a free Rapid Spin block. And Toxic can go over Explosion if one wishes so, but Explosion itself is great to stop a sweeper that is ready to go on a rampage. Next is Exeggutor. It combines good special attack with a nice bulk and support options, making him one of the best utility mons available. Now, his checks and counters include Houndoom, Tyranitar if it lacks Giga Drain, Raikou, Umbreon, Forretress if Exeggutor lacks the HP Fire, and Heracross, as well as Skarmory. Skarmory can also be a big check if Exeggutor doesn't have the HP Fire. But remember that Exeggutor has some sleep-inducing moves which can put those checks out of commission, but still you need to be careful with those. Now the most standard set is with Sleep Powder or Stun Spore, then Psychic, either Giga Drain or HP Fire, and Explosion. Sleep Powder and Stun Spore provide great support for the team. Sometimes even both can go on the same set. Psychic is for stab, Giga Drain for extra stab, or an HP Fire to cover steel types. Explosion is just Explosion. The other set, which is way less common but still effective, is the Subseed set with Leech Seed, Substitute, Stun Spore, and Psychic usually as the last move. The last move can vary depending on the player's states, but I put Psychic on this set for an example. This one can be very annoying, but also very effective, because it can be really tough for your opponent to take him down. Skarmory is probably the best physical wall in OU. He has no physical weakness whatsoever, has a ground and toxic immunity plus an amazing defense stat. Many physical setups become obsolete because of this guy, but it has its weakness, of course. His direct counters are Raikou, Zapdos, Charizard, or any Pokemon that has a strong fire move or a strong electric move, like Nidoking as well, Suicune, Jolteon, and Vaporeon as well. His bread and butter set is Drill Peck, Whirlwind, Rest, and then either Toxic, Curse, or Thief as the last slot. Now Skarmory, as I said, stops any physical attacker that doesn't have a super effective special move by phasing them out. Rest is for durability, and the last slot can either be Toxic to spread status, Curse to win Curse Wars, for example against the last poke Snorlax, or you can have also Thief to steal an opposing item. If you use Thief, make sure not to put leftovers on Skarmory. Either you put no item at all, or you can put a mint berry for an instant wake up after the first rest, and after you consume the mint berry you can use Thief to steal an opposing item. Next is Tyranitar. He has great stats overall with respectable speed and a huge attack. Tyranitar is a threat that can't be overlooked. While he isn't really a sweeper of some sort, he has the tools to be a great team player due to his good coverage and moves that are able to hit from both physical and special side. Now his most common counters and checks are Machamp, Marowak, Rhydon, Vaporeon, Suicune, Heracross, Miltank, and Cloyster. Although Cloyster needs to be aware of stab special moves like Crunch. Onto the sets, we have a Pursuit supporting Tyranitar with Pursuit, of course, Rock Slide, Fire Blast, and then either Crunch, Dynamic Punch, or EQ. Now this Tyranitar is made to snipe ghost types with Pursuit. You can also use it to get some chip damage on Pokemon that it forces out. Rock Slide is for stab, Fire Blast nails steel types. For the last slot, Crunch is for extra stab, Dynamic Punch is inaccurate, but if it hits, it does a huge chunk to things like Snorlax, Blissey, or other fighting weak Pokemon. Plus it has Confusion on the top. And EQ is a good coverage move that goes well along with Rock Slide and also helps to beat Raikou plus other electric types. The other set is Curse Tyranitar with Curse, Roar, Rock Slide, and then either Rest, EQ, or Fire Blast. This set is good against physical attackers and can even allow Tyranitar for an endgame sweep. Rest gives him more durability, but EQ/Fire Blast provides coverage. Proceeding to Suicune. This guy is the definition of a mixed wall. As a water type, he only has 2 weaknesses, and on the top of that, his defensive stats are great. Suicune walls a lot of mixed attackers, and makes a good emergency phaser, as well as a spike shuffler. Offensively, he is not that good, which means that certain Pokemon might set up on him if he is resting. His common checks/counters include Raikou, Zapdos, Tentacruel, Snorlax, especially if Snorlax is Curse or Drum, Jolteon, and Vaporeon if Suicune doesn't have Roar, as well as Blissey, of course. He has 2 sets that are mostly used. The first one is the Phaser set, which has Surf, Toxic, Roar, and Rest. This one works very well with Spike support. Spread Poison with Toxic Roar Pokemon out to accumulate spikes damage and rest when needed. Very simple but very effective. The other set is the Rest Talk set, which has Surf, Ice Beam, Rest and Sleep Talk. This type of Suicune walls the majority of mixed attackers. Many players know this set and how annoying it can be. That being said, with Rest Talk, Suicune is very susceptible to set up sweepers, so look out. And the last Pokemon for this episode is Steelix. Being a Steel and Ground type, it is immune to both Thunder Wave and Toxic, which is great. That means it is most likely not gonna beat Statuses. And it has superb defense and decent HP, but the attack is pretty average. On the special side, Steelix suffers a lot. So his checks and counters include Cloyster, Suicune, Charizard, Exeggutor, Starmie, Vaporeon, Machamp, Marowak, Miltank, and Umbreon. The bread and butter set of Steelix is the Phaser one, Curse, Earthquake, Roar, and then Explosion or Rock Slide. Steelix's main purpose is basically to Curse up to boost his attack, and even more its defense, and then Roar threats out when needed. Explosion allows him to break through a wall. For example, Steelix can survive a Surf from a Suicune at 100% health and KO it back with a +1 explosion. Rock Slide can also be used over Explosion if Steelix is used as an endgame sweeper rather than a wall. So this is it for this video. I don't want to make this too long, but on the next episode I'll continue with the remaining OU threats. And then on episode 5, I'll start with the UU tier. So, as usual, leave your feedback in the comment sections. Tell me what I should do better, what you think of this. I always appreciate feedback because I want to improve on making these videos. Anyways, you know the drill. Until the next video, take care of yourselves and see ya!